SNP, and we need a Labour government. Yes. Over to our next Prime Minister.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for going out door knocking this morning and talking to people about their issues and their problems. And it's great to be here in Peterborough. I've been here many times at events from the Trades Council, from the Labour Party, from local election campaigns, and campaigning in the last 2 general elections here. And we've got to put our all into these local elections for next Thursday to make sure we get more Labour councillors elected. I've been reading through your manifesto this morning, and it is an amazing document. I have never read a Labour local election manifesto that quotes Shakespeare. Who wrote it? Who wrote that? Well done, well done. Absolutely fantastic, where it says that fly tipping hides a greater ill. Absolutely right. It also quotes Herod the Wake. It also quotes quite a lot about Roman roads, railways, and the development of this wonderful city. The way it grew as an historic place, the way it grew alongside the river, and the way it was formed by so many people that migrated to live and work here in the brickworks and the huge Italian community that's here. That mosaic of this city can be brought together by what we're proposing for a Labour Council and the Labour Party. 1, tackle the housing crisis, the way in which so many young people forced to live in expensive, unregulated, short-term tenancy, private rented accommodation. Those families desperate to get a council place can't get one because there aren't enough being built. Those young people who are in work but forced to live in private rented because they can't save enough money up for a deposit to buy anywhere and therefore are stuck in the private rented stream forevermore. A Labour council will build council housing. 500 new homes will be built by a Labour council. If there was a Labour government supporting that council, think how much more could be achieved by that. But Peterborough has been hit and thumped by a Tory government. Hit and thumped. From 55 million a year going into Peterborough before the last Labour government left office in 2010, it's now down to 10 million a year. Do the math on that. And this government then says, well, you can raise council tax in order to pay for social care. Yes, you can. But the idea that you fund crucial services like social care by local taxation is not reasonable, not sensible, and simply not fair. You raise local taxation in, say, Woking, Guildford, Esher, any of those very nice towns in Surrey, you get quite a lot of money. You raise it here, you don't get anything like that amount. Raise that in the Pennine towns, you don't get anything like that. It's an old Tory trick. Pretend you're passing it on to the community, pretend you're localising the services. In reality, you're impoverishing the poorest and relieving the richest of the necessity of paying a proper level of taxation to fund our public services. So, this week we've been talking about social care, the need to fund it properly. John Healey did a brilliant set of interviews talking about how we'd regulate the private rented sector and build the housing we need and provide housing and homes for those poor people stuck begging and living on our streets because of the situation they've found themselves in. The Labour Party and a Labour government and a Labour council will not walk by on the other side to those that have met misfortune in their lives. So it is about investment and about connectivity in communities. I was in Nottingham on Thursday. Fantastic work done by the Labour Council there. Municipally owned bus service, excellent tram system, and the development of that bus service as far as they can all over. I want that for everywhere. I want a publicly owned bus service that works in every village and every part of the community.
Yes, most definitely.
But you know what? The Tories are very clever. Since 2010, 3,000 bus routes have been slashed across the country. And you know what? The bus companies have made 1.3 billion in profits. Can't we bring them into public ownership, stop the profits and invest in the services for the future? That is the way forward for us. But our task is to bring people together. Our task is to bring people together whether they voted Leave or Remain in the referendum. If you voted Leave and you live in Peterborough and you're up against it, you're fighting universal credit, you've got problems with your landlord, and maybe your school's not properly funded. If you live in Cambridge and you voted Remain and you've got problems with universal credit, your landlord and your security of work, your problems are exactly the same. We are not going to allow people to be divided on the basis of how they voted. My whole strategy in this is to bring people together. Yeah. We're the only party that appeals to people whether they voted Leave or Remain, and I'm doing my best to negotiate to get a customs union that will protect jobs, protect rights, protect trade access, and use the rights at work, environmental protections and consumer rights as a floor from which a Labour government would build in the future. And from an idea that was dismissed 15 months ago when I made it in Coventry in the first place, it's now been widely accepted as the only realistic and sensible way forward to bring people together and protect that trade and jobs that are so important for every single part of this country. So that is our message. We bring people together because we bring people together to achieve social justice, to achieve decency in society, and invest in an economy that works for all. And I'll finish with this. A Labour government will bring in a National Investment Bank. A Labour government will bring in regional transformation funds, locally administered and locally developed, in order that we can develop those decent, good quality, high-tech jobs for the future. That our young people will be treated equally, whether they go down the vocational road or the academic road. And a Labour government will bring in a national education service to make education a right, not a commodity to be bought and sold. That is a fundamental Labour principle. And congratulations on selecting my good friend Lisa as your candidate. She is an old friend, fantastic campaigner, fantastic worker, and has that amazing empathy with people to understand their issues and understand their problems. Lisa speaking up for all the people, Lisa understanding all the people, is what the Labour Party is all about. So I'm so proud to be here today to support you in the local election campaign, support Lisa, and say to all of you, thanks for what you do. If you come across some hostility from the mainstream media, it probably shows you're doing something right. So don't worry about it. When we get our message out there, people respond. Remember the 2017 election campaign, the way the whole thing transformed 2 weeks into the campaign. I can't wait for the general election of 2019. I've already got my rail ticket to travel the whole country, and above all, we are going to win. Thank you.